Nietzsche on learning, cognition, and behavior. The birth of cognitive psychology. Before its time, Nietzsche's exploration of the human mind was not just philosophical, it was deeply psychological. Long before modern psychology established theories of cognition and behavior, Nietzsche had already formulated key insights that would later shape cognitive science, behavioral psychology, and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. His work anticipates ideas about the interplay of emotions, thought processes, and behavior, showing that our habits and instincts are not fixed but cultivated through learning. The hidden foundations of feelings, why emotions are not to be trusted. One of Nietzsche's most radical assertions is that emotions are not pure, raw, or instinctual in the way we often assume. Instead, emotions are shaped by cognitive assumptions, many of which we inherit from our culture, family, and historical conditioning. This means that when we feel something deeply, whether love, anger, fear, or joy, it may not be because of some immutable truth, but because of preconceived judgments buried in our subconscious. Nietzsche argues this insight challenges the common belief that emotions are inherently trustworthy guides to reality. If emotions are shaped by our inherited beliefs and experiences, then blindly trusting them can be misleading. For example, 1. A person raised in a highly religious environment might feel guilt for questioning dogma, not because they have done something wrong, but because of pre-installed moral programming. 2. Someone taught to see success as purely material wealth might feel like a failure, despite achieving personal fulfillment in other ways. 3. Fear of rejection might not stem from real danger, but from childhood experiences of conditional acceptance. Nietzsche warns against this blind trust in feelings. This sounds strikingly similar to the fundamental premise of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which posits that distorted thoughts shape our emotions and behaviors. In CBT, individuals learn to challenge and reinterpret these inherited beliefs, breaking free from unconscious emotional conditioning. We have to learn to think differently, Nietzsche. As the forerunner of CBT, one of Nietzsche's most prescient psychological insights is that we are not locked into our current emotional responses. By changing the way we think, we can change the way we feel. He explicitly states this is almost identical to the core principle of CBT, which is that changing thought patterns leads to changes in emotions and behavior. Consider 1. A person suffering from social anxiety may instinctively assume that others are judging them. However, by challenging this assumption and reframing it, people are too focused on themselves to scrutinize me, their anxiety can be reduced. 2. Someone battling depression may think, I am worthless, but through structured practice, they can replace this with, I am struggling, but I still have worth. 3. A person feeling trapped in anger may shift from, this is an attack on me, to, maybe this person is having a bad day. By consciously restructuring thoughts, emotions follow suit, precisely what Nietzsche foresaw. Unconscious mastery, the art of instinct. Nietzsche didn't just emphasize thinking differently, he also understood the role of repetition, habits, and unconscious competence in shaping behavior. He recognized that learning is most effective when it moves from conscious effort to unconscious mastery. He describes this process vividly. He gives 2 striking examples. 1. The trained soldier. Just as a well-trained soldier reacts instinctively on the battlefield, a person with well-formed habits does not need to think deeply about moral dilemmas every time they act. 1. Through repetition, moral and practical behaviors become second nature. 2. The mathematician. A master mathematician does not consciously calculate every step when solving a problem, but acts fluidly, drawing upon deeply ingrained patterns of thinking. This is remarkably similar to what modern psychology calls implicit learning, the process by which behaviors and patterns become automatic through repetition. From playing an instrument to driving a car, real mastery occurs when effort disappears and action becomes intuitive. Nietzsche goes even further, arguing that all of human character is learned. He compares it to acquiring a taste for music. 1. First, we are exposed. 2. Then, we develop attention and sensitivity. 3. Next, we begin to differentiate and appreciate nuances. 4. Eventually, it becomes part of us, something we crave and look forward to. This model of progressive learning through exposure, refinement, and habit building mirrors what psychologists today call behavioral conditioning. How Nietzsche's psychology challenges modern thought. Nietzsche's ideas challenge both traditional and modern psychological assumptions. 1. Against essentialism. There is no fixed self. We are shaped by environment, repetition, and learning. Who we are is malleable. 2. Against emotional authority. Feelings should not be blindly obeyed. They are products of past conditioning, and we can rewire them through thought and practice. 3. Against passive learning. True transformation happens not by merely reading or knowing, but through active experimentation. We must test ideas in real-life situations. His approach encourages us to 1. Challenge inherited values and emotions. 2. Reprogram our mental habits through disciplined self-overcoming. 3. Train ourselves to act with unconscious mastery rather than hesitation. Final thought. Nietzsche's psychology as a path to self-mastery. Nietzsche's vision of psychology is not about fixing weaknesses, it is about creating strength. His radical insights anticipated cognitive psychology, behavioral science, and even mindfulness techniques long before they became mainstream. If Nietzsche were alive today, he would likely reject modern therapeutic culture's obsession with victimhood and instead push for a psychology of empowerment, discipline, and radical self-transformation. So, the question Nietzsche leaves us with is this: are you simply feeling, or are you learning how to feel differently? Are you just thinking, or are you mastering new ways to think? Are you passively absorbing knowledge, or are you training yourself for unconscious greatness? Nietzsche challenges us to not just know, but to become.